Welcome everyone. I'm Carlota. Welcome to my first photography exhibition. I'm very happy to have you here. I'm very happy to have my guests with me. Just a quick backstory. I'm Portuguese. I'm born and raised in Lisbon. I'm a documentarian photographer. I'm a documentarian in general. I'm a sound designer. I'm a creative, and this is a coming together of many phases of my photography, going from landscaping to music photography and to documental, experimental, fun photography, and on to the last phase, which joins the fact that I studied filmmaking, and so a little bit of photography and movement on that room. And I have with me Sienna and Rafa, who were very kind to join me today. I'll pass the word on to you so you guys can introduce yourselves. So, welcome.
Right. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Rafa, for the close ones. For the not so close, Rafael de Oliveira, or my artistic name is Retronave. Yeah, I'm a visual artist, mostly, but I do all kinds of sorts of stuff. I'm part of a collective. We do events. The collective is called the Black or the Berry. We do events for the Black and queer communities, you know, and I live and I exist and I express and myself and with the people that are around me.
Yeah. And Sienna?
Hi, I'm Sienna, and I'm originally South African. Ended up in Portugal and have now sort of established what I do here, and I kind of shoot artistic nudes and sort of sensual photography. I had a very varied career, from travel photography to fashion. Yeah, and it somehow led me to this little niche.
Well, thank you both for being here. I'll start by asking a little bit why you started photographing and how you came to the projects that you're developing now with you, Retronave, and with you, your nude photography. So what made you choose photography as your medium, and what brought you to these projects?
So yeah, I started taking photos when I was 6 years old, in Azores. Like I was with my mom doing like a drop trip. And she just had bought those small digital cameras, compact cameras, and I really wanted to try, and I remember my mom like not letting me because it was too expensive, so I couldn't just grab it and walk around it because I was 6. But then I saw like a crab, and I was like, I made the biggest the biggest cry ever. And she eventually let me take that picture, and I still remember it till today because I feel it was the moment where I saw the power of remembering and stopping time for a second and remember that crab that I saw and connected with me, forever. Mm-hmm. And then from then, you just every camera, the phone starting having cameras, and every camera that I could get, I was always taking pictures. And then eventually, like I was saying, like we were discussing before, like I wanted to study astronomy and physics, but then the school grades and the school system didn't really fit into the way that I wanted to study. And so when I was like 17, 18, trying to figure out what I was going to do for my life, I was just, I'm just going to do this thing that I've been doing since ever. And see where that takes me. But it was not really at that time like with that, I'm going to be a photographer. I'm just doing what I know what to do. Mm-hmm. And also that freedom, I think, of not having like expectations also helped me to also position myself in the way that I want to express myself visually. Yeah, and
thank you. And here you are.
Here I am.
How about you, Sienna?
Initially, I studied journalism, and like I said to you earlier, I really loved the idea of, being a war correspondent, and, But on the same note, I also was always artistic. I always loved painting. I always loved creating, and ultimately sort of came to photography and the sort of speed of it. I loved the sort of instant gratification, even though back then I did study on film. It was still a quicker process than a painting or drawing. But I always wanted my work also to have an impact. So it's kind of had a bit of a meandering route, you know, from the very, very obsessive, very impactful idea of being a photojournalist to what I do now. But it still has somehow culminated in a type of photography that does have an impact, but just on a far more sort of personal level now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's been nice to end up somewhere that does actually do, you know, that does have an impact as well.
And how did you come to nude photography? Was it like a connection with the topic? Was it an exploration with yourself?
With what I shoot now?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is also another meandering. My life seems to be a multitude of meandering stories, but you know, after spending years in fashion and kind of getting disillusioned with the fashion world and that having zero positive impact on people's lives and getting tired of trying to sell people things that they really didn't need, I went traveling and I actually, you know, tried some travel photography, but ended up putting my camera down for about 4 years. And COVID hit. And I was in Vietnam in a small little town called Hoi An, which is incredibly beautiful, but can be quite isolating when you're locked down in an apartment by yourself in a foreign country. And out of pure boredom and probably guilt at not using my camera for so long, I started photographing myself, which, as many photographers probably can tell you, is very difficult for a photographer. We usually hate being in front of the lens. So it was a big challenge in and of itself. And, you know, being a woman as well, we grew up with a lot of conditioning on how we're supposed to look. You know, I'm a product of the 90s where heroin chic was a huge thing. You know, a lot of us had eating disorders and really worried about how we looked. And photographing myself helped me sort of process a lot of that stuff from, you know, my teenage years, my 20s, and fundamentally changed how I looked at myself. And that then kind of organically grew into other people asking me to shoot them, and then, yeah, organically finding clients, and now it's very specifically what I do. I do not shoot anything else. So yeah, it's been nice to have it find me and grow so organically. Yeah.
That's really cool. Thank you for sharing. I relate to both of you in the sense of like I also started photographing very young. I remember my grandfather, my father, everyone in my family always having cameras documenting everything, and so it came as like an extension of everything that was happening around me. And I always really enjoyed experimenting with also painting and with theater, with music, with many forms of creative creation. And photography just seemed to be the one that stuck around for the longest because of how accessible it is, how like easy it is to carry a camera, to do it everywhere, how curious I was about people, about different stories, different narratives, different lives, simple ways of like holding someone or of looking at something always fascinated me and and I always wanted to know more about the person in front of me or this thing in front of me. I wanted to take every place back home. I wanted to know everything about everyone. And I think that curiosity is what, in the end, obviously like mixed with a little bit of like, my grandfather used to tell me all these stories and read me history books and stuff. And so that interest for those narratives was always a part of my journey. And then with studying filmmaking, I think that was an extension of that. And still today, I feel like photography is a lot more present in my life because of how easy it is to take a photograph. Like with a movie, you need to build a narrative or you need to follow someone around for months. And it's as fun as it is and as much as I enjoy it, it's a lot more work and it's a lot more commitment. And photography has just been something very intuitive, and I think you can tell that by the kind of work I do. And on that note, I'd like to talk about the first word of the exhibition, which is contemplation, and how, I mean, for me, it's, again, like I was explaining, it's very much about the connection to the subject, even that being a place, a gesture, like a movement, a connection between two people that I'm seeing, a position that's like a pose that someone is already in and that I find interesting, and then I'm just trying to, you know, find the best way to look about it. But it builds in this like chaotic environments, in the middle of crowds, in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of everywhere, and so it's all very intuitive and it's all very in the moment that I find that inspiration. I would love to know how that is for both of you.
All right, so what I do is quite different from what you do. You know, my work is very much in studio. It's very private, and my clients or my subjects look to me a lot for guidance initially. So it's very, very structured in the beginning. Most of what they're nervous about is having to do is having to pose by themselves. So most of my work in this respect is making them feel very, very comfortable and being very controlled in the beginning, and then finding spaces in between those very controlled moments where the real person comes out. So there it's very, very much control versus control as opposed to chaos. It's coaxing out that natural moment through very, very structured process. And also getting to know your subject as well. Like every subject is different. Everyone's got different comfort levels, what they want out of the shoot as well. Because what I do, my subject is also my viewer. So I'm shooting for them. The shoot is for them, and the image, the end result is for them and them alone at the end of the day as well. So everything revolves around them and nothing else. I'm just there to kind of coax it out of them and give them a space to kind of find that aspect of themselves in.
Yeah, thank you. How about you, Rafa?
Yeah, you two touched on two very important points, because like when I started, taking photos more seriously, I was not at a good time of my life, so I really used it as a survival tool, and it is a tool. I don't see it as like oh yeah, that's the camera, I'm gonna use it so I could go somewhere. No, it's more like of an extension of myself. And yes, I look and I contemplate before I make the composition, and for me that's very important, because like I'm maybe a mix of both, because I find comfort in chaos.
Yeah.
So when I was 17, 18, I started going to shows, to concerts, and started taking photos. In the middle of the public, I go to the front row and started taking pictures to the artists, to the people around me. And even after that, like I like chaos, and I like it because it's a survival mode. I learned how to like it through photography. So for me, it was like the camera really became like a tool of survival, of like, it is. If I don't, it's like a third leg. If I don't use this third leg, I'm not going to be able to walk, because my knees are not working.
Yeah.
But having that camera, to me, like serves as like almost a shield.
Yeah.
For you to observe the world. Mm-hmm. So you suddenly, maybe without a camera, you cannot get as close to a subject, or to someone's soul, to someone's feeling, to any soul of any object. Mm-hmm. So with the camera allows you to make that zoom in into someone's, soul. It's not really, I think contemplation is very immaterial, It's not very material. It's the things that you say to yourself in your mind, that like, why is this pillar so something, what do I like about it? What do I like about this cup? What do I like about, the subject that I'm shooting? So it is contemplation, it is where it starts, and it goes back to, like you were saying, like your past, what you learned growing up, and it's like your baggage to whatever, you're going to live, to live life. So that's that baggage, you take it. And then contemplation, yeah, just happens naturally, with what you are and what do you need in your life at that time.
Yeah. Thank you. I agree. And moving on to the next topic, which is composition, talking about like how we manipulate our photos, because obviously we do to a certain point, like editing, color grading, that's still manipulation. Our point of view is still manipulation. Like, do we take it from this angle? Do we take it from that angle? What sort of topics are we looking for, you know, like you were talking about, like I can see this pillar and it could be interesting to each of us for a different reason, or a person could be interesting to us for a different reason. And the way we would shoot them would be completely different, obviously. And so talking about like those layers and how we pick our angle and how we then work on that photograph afterwards, like, because for me, like, I really enjoyed shooting on film, for example, but I'll shoot on my iPhone. Like, I don't, it's not really about that. But so the manipulation for me is not that present. But I would definitely want to know how it is for you guys.
It's where it starts to get tricky, right? Because now you have the option to, you know, create someone's vision of themselves. And that can be dangerous, you know. And I say that because from, like, for example, for shows, I have photos of big artists with the ugliest faces ever. And I'm like, am I gonna share this? No, because, you know, or I could, but I have that power, you know, to, you know, how you angle, where you put the camera, what traces of the face and of the body and of the soul of the person that you wanna, you know, show to people. Do you like the person? Are you really interested in the person or in the subject? Like, what do you really think? And I think composition is where things start to get like real for us photographers, because yeah, we have a power like on someone else that is being, you know, the subject. So like it needs a lot of care. It needs, like you were saying, your work as well, like it's very, I believe it's very like around it, you know, the care that you give to the people. The composition is not just a photo, you know. You also need to find that box within the conversation that we're having, and saying like, look, these photos can go for an exhibition. These photos are just for my portfolio. These photos are just for yourself, because it is like a camera. It is a weapon, you know. It shoots people, so it is a weapon. So it needs a lot of care. It needs a lot of thinking, a lot of love. Yeah, and that's...
How do you go about it? Because I know you can't share a lot of the photography.
Yeah.
You do. Do you, in the process of taking those photographs, are you also mindful of keeping some privacy? Are the photos like completely explicit? How do you go about it?
Yeah, so obviously I work in a sex-positive space. I also shoot in the kink world, so people's privacy is, you know, of the utmost importance. You know, people are coming to me in their most vulnerable state and trusting me with images that could destroy lives. So, you know, I'm very, very mindful of that, and obviously without trust, I can't work. You know, which also in and of itself means that I can't share 99% of what I shoot, which is fine. But in terms of composition and stuff as well, where the space that I work in is traditionally dominated by men. You know, the traditional porn images is all very male gaze. Even advertising, marketing is still very, very male gaze. Women are so sexualized. So I have to walk a very fine line between watching my own gaze switching into male gaze, because I've seen it so much as well, and it's a very easy thing to fall into. So I have to be very aware of that and remember who I am shooting for. And it is my subject, who most of the time, I photograph men as well, but it is overwhelmingly women that I photograph. And I need to keep reminding myself that, you know, women look at images very, very differently. We value beauty, we see beauty in a different way, we see sexiness in a different way, we see empowerment in a different way, we see confidence in a different way. But, you know, decades of that imagery being pumped into your brain, it's hard to shed it, you know. So I'm very aware composition-wise, and even if it's explicit images, those with a female gaze is different to shot with the male gaze. You know, the consumer is a different. And then, you know, manipulation-wise, in the end, I retouch very, very little. I want my clients to recognize, or my subject to recognize themselves in their images, not some idealized version that they feel like they should look like, but how they truly actually look. I love the fact that within 5 minutes of starting to shoot, I always have an image of the back of camera that I want to show a client. And the second they see themselves how I see them, I can immediately see their bodies relax. And the confidence level, it starts to, like, a lot of photographers don't like showing their shots while they're shooting clients. I do it continuously throughout my shoots. I want people to see, even without retouching, how beautiful they look in shot, you know, in camera without it. And you can see throughout the shoot the confidence level of somebody building. It's really good to watch. So, and then after that, I really, and other than like the odd pimple the person needs removed, I really don't retouch a lot. I want them to see themselves as they are. So yeah.
Thank you. I mean, I was gonna touch now on connection, which I think we've talked about already a little bit, but I wanted to focus on it a little more, and because obviously, like it's a part of it. It's impossible to talk about any of these things without talking about our connection to the subject, our connection to the equipment, to our connection to our environment, our connection to our audiences afterwards. You know, how people are going to perceive our photos and stuff like that. And I'm really interested in how you guys go about it in terms of like, is equipment important for you? Is the subject more important for you? Like, is the space you're working in, the background, everything? What's the priority?
So for me, connection is of the utmost importance. Everything is secondary. Again, because what I do is, you know, people are in their most vulnerable state in front of me. Without a connection, nothing would work. It is the thing that I focus on the most. From the moment I meet a client till the end is the entire experience of the whole thing. The images are almost, I wouldn't say quite secondary, but almost secondary. The shoot itself is the priority. It has to be a positive experience, because it could also be, you don't know what trauma a person's gone through, you don't know what they're coming with. You always want them to walk out with that being a good experience. So connection has to be established really, really fast for me. I mean, I might speak to a client twice before a shoot. And, you know, so I don't do small talk, you know, go straight into the in-depth conversations. And my skill doesn't lie as much as the photographic side as it does with the connection and making people feel comfortable very, very quickly. That I'm quite proud to be, like I'm proud to be quite good at that. And without that, I wouldn't be able to do what I did or what I do now. What was there another question in there?
No, it was about the equipment and the relationship.
Oh yeah,
with the
equipment.
subject,
Yeah, I mean,
like
equipment-wise, lighting-wise, I stick to natural light again. I want the studio to be a comforting space and not intimidating with a lot of flashing lights, which helps because I'm a very lazy photographer and lighting is hard. So I'm lucky that my lazy stance has now turned into a style. I sit with my 50mm on my camera that I never take off. And that's it. Yeah. So now I'm just the lazy photographer that shoots on a 50mm, and that's just my style, which is great. I'm the most untechnical photographer ever.
It's interesting because you studied photojournalism.
Yeah,
so.
I know. But
You've really come along all the way out.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's in there somewhere, but I don't use it very often. But yeah, so yeah, you know, the equipment is definitely secondary. I know enough to get the shot, but the subject is of the utmost importance for me.
How about you? I know you have multiple ways in which you photograph. I know you do portrait photography, which maybe it's more about the person, but also you have Oxyretronave, your project, and I wonder like how those two like contradict each other, maybe contrast in this level.
Definitely, because like, yeah, kind of the fun thing is I feel like I work a lot with disconnection, you know, because when I shoot a subject, and even through editing, like I try to take away like the furthest from what the subject it is in reality, or what we can see. Even with people, like my portraits are very much like people cannot see themselves. Yeah. They're like, what? This is me. I'm like, yeah. And I love that because of the thing of space and all of the way that I think and I see life, and I want to give to people is that idea that like comes kind of from the oneness feeling of that, like even the space and the stars that are like very, 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 very far away from us are still part of us, you know, and we are the same. We're just made in different, the molecules are the same, but just made differently. And I think that disconnecting comes from that, like, and that's why like I'm a bit sorry, but at the same time this is what I believe that is the purpose of art, is kind of to take away, and not just of course all art, but the way my art disconnect you from where you are right now. You know, take you away to space and feel like, so you can see like even Earth from the outside. You know, just by looking at a picture. So yeah, I like, because then the connection comes after. You know, because the people are a bit getting shocked or just like confused, and then the conversation starts after that. And like, why are you confused? What confuses you? Is it the color? Is it the fact that your face is not there? Is the fact that you recognize something that you didn't recognize before? And I'm much more interested in that part of life, which is like, in even the way that I take pictures. I think one thing that like goes through all the genres and the types of photography that I do is that like I like to take photos of, I like my photos to be things that you've never seen before. You know, always to feel like there are new things. And of course this is also like a bit opinion based, but I also believe that there doesn't exist like new things. Something that you did already, someone already did it. You know, 10, 100, 1,000 years ago, doesn't matter. But you just, like, life is cyclical, and the planet, you know, goes around, and we go around ourselves. And this is like a fractal of, if space works like that, if the planet Earth works like that, if society works like that, we work like that as well. So, you know, we have day and nights as well. There's days that we don't want to take photos, but that doesn't mean the sun is not there, you know? The sun is still there, it's just night. There's the moon, there's other ways, and there's the stars. There's other ways that you can maneuver yourself through society. So I'd like to work on that night, you know? And the fact that everything's dark, but there are points of light. And that's what you guide yourself by, because that's how they used to guide themselves through the planet, just by the stars.
Yeah.
So I try to bring that into photography and show people things that are like, feels like stars. You know, they're very far away, you feel disconnected, but in the same way, there's a line that goes through and you connect yourself with that thing, with that piece, with yourself, with that part of yourself. Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, for me, it's very much like, it's my connection with the subject, obviously. Like, I really like what you said about like building that trust and building that connection, because my photography, like especially more recently, really lives with the way that the people are moving and their ability to be comfortable around the camera and to be present and to be okay. But I also really like what you said in terms of manipulation. And I think for me, like, obviously, like I was saying earlier, like someone else would have taken the picture, and it's all about what we find interesting. For me, I find like there's a bit of a comedic side to it. Like I try to find like funny positions, funny points of views, like how composition can emulate something else and can make you feel something differently that you were not expecting. I also like to relate a lot with culture, like other kinds of culture that are not photography, you know, like I grew up in a religious setting, like very religious setting. So that obviously had an influence, positive and negative, and it's like, you know, and also that feeling and those stereotypes are very fun to deconstruct and to explore through photography, as well as with paintings. You know, certain compositions that can resemble a specific painting can really inspire you and subconsciously connect you to something else. I'm talking about this, I'm looking at them, sorry, don't forget. But you know, like all of those things, I think are parts of the way I approach photography, and all that background of like history and music and other kinds of arts have really influenced the way I go about photography and how I relate to the subject, how I relate to building that story. Because again, for me, it's very much about the stories behind the people and behind the moment, and I like to capture it as if it's not that just that moment standing still, and you can sense the movement or you can sense the stillness, and there's multiple layers to it. I really like what you guys said, and I know we didn't plan another question, but I want to ask another question. Sure. I really wanted to know if you think about, like, I know you both, like, you have projects other than photography that insert you in communities that you relate to, and you as well, your photography project very much inserts you in a community that you relate to a lot. And I find it quite interesting because I don't know if I have that or not, but I would really like to know if it's something that motivates you, something that moves you, the fact that you have peers that you may be inspiring or that you may be representing or that you're making this bigger than yourselves. So on to you guys. I don't know what to say about this, so all
I
you.
have a lot of things to say.
Yeah, this one could go for a while. So, you know, as to the question of whether the communities that I work in inspires, I work a lot in the sex positive community, in the kink world, the kink community, and you know, for a lot of people, it's, you know, for some people sex is just sex, or we don't talk about sex. And the thing is, it's such a big part of who we are as human beings that a part of what I do, especially within these communities, is trying to bring it to the fore and remove the taboo around something that is biological. We're all here because our parents had sex, let's be honest, you know. And just to kind of, you know, it's maybe the other end of what you do, you know, like photographing societal norms and conditioning and stuff. This is the other end of really trying to push those boundaries and really trying to break down those societal norms that don't serve us. So it really is nice moving in these communities because you have people who come from lots of different backgrounds and are inspired by lots of different things. So it's the same as being in like an artistic collective where you're just surrounded by really creative energy. It's very similar to that. You know, you're surrounded by people who are creative in different ways. Like some people are like shibari artists and some people are sex positive psychologists even. You know, there's a very vast array of people that work in this space. So it can be very inspiring to be around people that are passionate about what they do. And of course, it does expand your ideas of what you can do, and you have interesting collaborations. You know, so I'm thinking now about working on an exhibition next year, very much about the kink space, but having it be very multimedia and sort of immersive, but now trying to do that obviously in a respectful way, and also not in a masculine gaze kind of way. So it's going to be a very interesting challenge, like navigating those sort of boundaries as well to create something that's not just what everybody else has seen before. Because like you said, I agree that you know, it's been done before. You can just Google what these things look like. So how to create these, or how to showcase this world in a respectful way, an intelligent way that shows these, you know, that showcases everyone's humanity as well in this space as well. Because a lot of people can dismiss this world very quickly, and dismiss the people within it. And they're all people that walk amongst us every day, and you know, they're not the scary people that hide under the stairs, you know. So yeah, I'm gonna have to be very thoughtful about how I approach it.
How about you? I know, like, I don't think we talked about it before, but you're also you're head of media for. You did talk about it for Black of the Berry. So, and you have your projects, and how does that influence?
Exactly. That's why I love that question, because I feel like I'm more of that thing, a person that does that, than I'm a photographer or even an artist. I think art is a bit of that, because I think this goes to everyone, not specifically like just photographer or artist. Because for example, like when I started in the like hip hop rap world, right? And all of my friends were rappers, and one quote that really, and is like by one of my favorite rappers, who's now my friend somehow, because he's American. But he says that whatever you do, always live life like a rapper. And it's kind of like, oh, but the rappers are the ones who like, you know. But like I saw, and this kind of like a conscious rapper, and like I saw what he was saying, which is like rappers usually they made it out the mud, you know. With the mud, they make it show like they're the richest people on earth, and they're the coolest people on earth, but they came out the mud, literally. And so I think that goes to everyone and everything, goes to that, answers that question, which is like, you can find a bit of yourself in anything, but you need to know yourself and the things that you're interested in order to, you know, start experiencing and connecting with those things. For example, like I played football as well, and I might not agree with the culture and everything that happens around, but I still love the fact that there are 22 people playing a game in a green field. You know, it's a basic concept, but in just trying to put a ball in a box. Like such a simple concept, but it's fun when you think about it in a different way, in a different perspective. So I think it's very, very much about your perspective on things. So that's when like I go to my collective and someone is like black and queer, but is not really an artist but loves to come to our shows, and like I like to ask what they do, and even if they come from finances or they come from whatever, it's like it's so interesting to see how these people like operate in those systems where, for example, in her office, she cannot say that she's black and queer, but she comes to our events, and of course, she might be coming because she likes our work and our movement and the stuff that we do, and she relates. But people sometimes forget that whatever they're doing, like we need people from the finances in our collective, you know? We're all artists, none of us.
No one's making money.
Yeah, none of us know how to, you know, create a funding like that, you know? But when you see things in a different way and you see like, oh, maybe these people can use what I know for their own good and can make a whole difference for them, you know? Like it is magical. It is like, I think it's this thing of coming from the immaterial world, from our minds, to reality, to the physical world. It's like anything can happen. You just need to actually be creative. And that's why I say like it goes for everyone, not just artists. Being creative is not for artists, it's for everyone. Whatever you do, if you work, I don't know, at a bakery, you can be creative. If you work at, you know, finances, you can be creative. If you work at, you know, anything. Creativity, it is, for example, I didn't have like a religious background, but I'm very interested in religion because it is, they talk about this stuff, you know, about this immaterial, and I studied during COVID where everything was stopped. It's actually funny because I think my life was like going like this, so I was finishing my filmmaking course, which I haven't talked about, because I also did filmmaking. But I was going to do like a documentary about architecture. And then also in 2019, I went to Japan and I took a lot of pictures there. And then someone from London, a publisher from London, saw the pictures, loved it, wanted to make a book. Eventually this publisher found a place in Tokyo to exhibit it. And this was like all in like 4 months. I was like, oh, my first exhibition is going to be in Tokyo with my first book and then I'm gonna do my first big movie, whoa. And then COVID happened. And I was like, oh, what now? And yeah, I also believe like, you know, nothing happens just because, everything has a reason. So that's where I started to study theology and God and seeing like all the different perspectives, not just from now, but from like thousands and thousands of years ago. And see how these cycles happen, and seeing like the things that we're going through today already happened 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago. And you're like, okay, I'm not the first person going through this. So it is okay, it's about just connecting, seeing things in a different perspective, and you'll find, you know, a bit of yourself in everyone. And everyone can find a bit of themselves in everyone around you. It's just actually a matter of like looking to the side and making a question that they wouldn't make, you know, normally. Yeah.
Thank you. While you guys were talking, I was listening, and I think I know my answer now. I mean, I think for me, it's been a lot about photographing and the unusual. So I feel like a lot of people who do street photography go for like the great outfits and the beautiful people and all these things. And I usually go for like the people doing the most interesting, weird stuff, and for the people looking the most melancholic. And I'm not saying I'm original. I know more people do this. And like you said, like what we do is a byproduct of everything we've seen and everything there's been before us. But it brings me a lot of joy. And so my other part of this question would be the bringing that joy to other people and creating spaces where people can be creative and people can talk about creativity, and we can showcase how joyful it is, how great it is, how accessible it is, something like photography, like we all have it in the palm of our hands, you know, and it can be so meditative, like you said. It can be a way to find peace in the chaos. It can be a way to find confidence. It can be such a powerful tool and such a powerful weapon. And it's been great doing this talk with you guys, because I feel like it's been what I feel like photography is for me, which is bringing that curiosity and that enjoyment and that funness to people's lives. So thank you so much. Thank you everyone for coming and listening to us and looking at the pictures and having a good time. And yes, thank you. Thank you.